The Pentagon's AI fight just moved from theory to deployment. On the surface, this looks like another defense tech contract story. The deeper issue is who actually sets the red lines once frontier models move into military cyber defense and targeting workflows. The confirmed facts are these. Axios reported on April 30th that the Army just ran a tabletop exercise with Google, OpenAI, AWS, and Microsoft around an Indo-Pacific cyber crisis. Axios also reported on April 29th that Google's new Pentagon deal allows what it calls all lawful uses. An official Defense Department policy still says commanders and operators must exercise appropriate levels of human judgment over the use of force. The unresolved question is whether contracts, company policies, or public law will end up in charge once these systems spread. Here is what changed this week. Axios said the Army's exercise focused on using large language models and AI agents to help defend networks, not just summarize emails. The report also said the service is deciding how to field and test 2 potential AI capabilities over the next 30 to 90 days. A day earlier, Axios reported that Senators Chuck Grassley and Jim Banks sent letters to major AI companies with 9 questions about insider access, Chinese nationals in key technical roles, and safeguards around their models. So the Washington story is no longer simply whether AI is powerful. It is whether the institutions moving fastest on military use have rules that are specific enough for what comes next. The official Pentagon rulebook is more cautious than the pace of the deals. Defense Directive 3000.09 says autonomous and semi-autonomous weapon systems must be designed so commanders and operators can exercise appropriate levels of human judgment over force. The Pentagon's own AI ethical principles say military AI should be responsible, equitable, traceable, reliable, and governable. And on March 17th, Senator Alyssa Slotkin introduced the AI Guardrails Act, which would require a human decision in the use of force and block autonomous weapons from selecting and engaging human targets on their own. In other words, the public-facing standard is not no rules. It is that the rules exist, but they are arriving unevenly across directives, procurement, and legislation. This is where the story gets sharper. Axios reported that Google's classified Pentagon contract is more permissive than OpenAI's, because Google agreed to support all lawful uses, while OpenAI added an explicit bar on domestic surveillance of United States persons, including commercially available information. That does not mean one company is good and one is bad. It means procurement can become policy by default when government urgency meets slightly different company red lines. And as Senate Democrats now move to codify guardrails around autonomous weapons and domestic mass surveillance, the practical question becomes who sets the real boundary first: Congress, the Pentagon, or whichever contract gets signed soonest. Why should ordinary people care? Because military AI rules do not stay trapped in one bunker. They shape surveillance standards, cyber defense procurement, contractor power, taxpayer spending, and public trust in what government systems are allowed to do. Faster cyber defense can be good. Better tools for analysts can be good. But if the rules stay blurry, the public ends up finding out where the line was only after a contract, a leak, or a failure makes it obvious. That is why this is not a niche defense story. It is a power story about who gets to normalize high-stakes AI first. So what should you watch next? First, whether the Army's 30 to 90-day testing window turns into real procurement. Second, whether the Senate's new guardrail push gets folded into the defense bill or fades into talking points. Third, whether future Pentagon contracts keep relying on company policy differences instead of one clearer public standard. Subscribe for clear daily explainers without hype on the technology, power, and policy stories that affect ordinary people. And comment what you want tracked next in this story: the contracts, the guardrails, or the public accountability.